I love all Mario vs. Donkey Kong Tipping Stars games that released in 2015. Well, not that one. Releasing on both Wii U and 3DS at the same time, this was Nintendo's answer to Sony's cross-buy initiative. Finally, I can get a game on Wii U and I'll get it for 3DS as well, free of charge. Oh man, they were so nice. When I took the moldy bread, they gave me the puddle of vomit for free. Listen, the Mario vs. Donkey Kong games are all completely edible. They work, they'll fill you up, but man, like, I don't want lasagna again. Tipping Stars is the exact same damn game as Mario vs. Donkey Kong 2, March of the Minis, Mario vs. Donkey Kong Minis March Again, Mario vs. Donkey Kong Miniland Mayhem, except now, it's the game we're talking about. The core gimmick of this game is how, while there's a campaign of levels to play through, you can create and share your own online, which has been in all the other Mario vs. Donkey Kong games, but this one, you can tip the creator's stars. God damn, somebody name a game after that! These games are interesting to talk about, considering I'm not really sure how much here you can truly criticize outside of its existence as a whole. Like, these are fine, well-designed little puzzle platformers, but when you make like 9 of them, and they're all so damn similar, you don't see a genuine evolution take place, and when you finally make something worth a damn, you relapse. And this is $10 more than Minis on the Move? I get you receive both the 3DS and Wii U games, but if that was factored into the price point, that's not receiving the other version for free. They're just charging you for 2 games. And they're both the exact same. I'd say the 3DS version feels a bit more right. On Wii U, you play entirely on the gamepad, with the TV screen just displaying your whole view. But man, this just looks naked. I don't know, the game is fine, but these games just feel like busy work, like a crossword puzzle. You don't go, damn, now that was a crossword puzzle. You play them when you want to keep your mind from wandering. Amiibo Tap, Nintendo's Greatest Bits also came to Wii U. I like that subtitle. A free application based around finding something for Amiibo figures to do. These guys launched right alongside Super Smash Bros. For Wii U that past holiday season, and everybody loved buying them. Yet scanning these things on the Wii U gamepad was often followed up by disappointment. Oh man, I wanted a hug. So Amiibo Tap was developed by Nintendo as a means to bring more value to Amiibo figures. Could just start shipping them with 5s. So we scan an Amiibo and unlock a scene from a classic NES or SNES game. Oh, so the full game?
No.
Well, maybe a remixed bit of an old title, like an NES remix?
Nuh-uh.
Okay, so at least I can scan Mario and unlock a Mario game.
You.
So, Amiibo Tap, you can scan any Amiibo, you unlock a demo for a random virtual console game. Scan Link, you just might get... What? Virtual console games for $5 to $8. You're telling me you couldn't have had something where you scan a Mario Amiibo, you get the original Super Mario Brothers? No? These figures' NFC chips are too easy to replicate and make dummy versions of, so I assume this was the only way they could have realistically done it. But damn if it isn't still worthless. What about an NES Remix 3, where you scan Mario characters, you get remixed challenges with them in other NES games? Nah, just give Amiibo owners a demo for Mock Rider, cause we need to make room in our warehouse. Did you know Art Academy Home Studio launched on Wii U this year? Lucky you, silence was the right answer. So yeah, 2 years after Art Academy Sketchpad launched, the full version released for 30 bones, replacing Sketchpad on the eShop, so you couldn't choose between the $4 drawing application and the $30 one. Listen, I see the value in this title as a teaching tool. It's just harder when you offer the main thing you're gonna be doing in the game for 7 times less cash. It's like what, I've been using Art Academy's Sketchpad for 2 years, and then I say, finally, now I can learn how to draw. This is pretty much Sketchpad, but with lessons included, and the lessons in this game are fantastic. This is a wonderful way to teach about art, and this is a game that does benefit from being on Wii U with the gamepad. But I feel like this took way too long to release after Sketchpad. And by the time it did, I think everybody forgot how full-fledged Art Academy was even coming to Wii U. I think most assumed Sketchpad was it. It being an eShop exclusive definitely didn't help things. It got physical releases elsewhere in the world though, with Europe titling it Art Academy Adiole. That is a room in which art is done. I wish North America had a more similar titling method. In the end, it's fair to say this is one of Nintendo's most forgettable Wii U releases. They barely advertised it, only released here via the eShop, and it's easily confused with the $4 app that came out in 2013. All this game is an alibi. I drew this the day of, Your Honor. It couldn't have been me. Seems that Nintendo was starting to release more games exclusively on the eShop when they just weren't confident in their retail presence. Case in point, Fatal Frame, Maiden of Blackwater. Yeah, Nintendo, do a digital-only release for a 14GB game on your system that only has 8GB and 32GB variations. You're a fucking genius. Can you make me happy next? This is just something that always perplexed me. Obviously, this game didn't get a physical release because it was deemed too risky. Like, we're probably not gonna attract new fans with this series. It's too niche. Why not just put it out on the eShop so we don't have to go through the whole rigmarole of releasing a physical copy? But then you put out Devil's Third and Tokyo Mirage Sessions out physically, plus this game got physical releases in Japan and Europe, and if you really weren't concerned about making new fans with this game, why did you release it as a free download so people could play the first bit of the game and then be prompted to pay for the rest of it? Or were you trying to attract new fans or not? Because something not appealing to new fans is having to download a 14 gigabyte file on a system that takes 4 years to load a loading screen. Well, finally. So Fatal Frame is an odd series. It was originally only on PlayStation 2 and Xbox before becoming a Nintendo exclusive for a bit. Fatal Frame 2 was remade just for Wii alongside new entry Fatal Frame 4. The spin-off Spirit Camera was exclusive to 3DS, and of course, Fatal Frame Maiden of Blackwater. The 5th main entry was only on Wii U. Being a series about taking pictures of ghosts, I mean, damn, I think that was the Wii U's MO. Using the gamepad, moving it around like a camera, obviously, this was the perfect fit conceptually. In practice, it isn't this undeniable upgrade from a standard controller. It's still just a gimmick. It's cute, but isn't necessary at all, evident by the game's release on non-Nintendo systems a few years later. The game itself, in my opinion, it's a bit of a love it or hate it kind of title. I never got too into it as a horror game due to how scripted and predictable the scares are, plus how stiff and clunky it is to control the main character. If you're thinking a horror game, it would be potentially beneficial to have stiffer movement. It makes when you have to book it that much harder, which can increase the fear. It doesn't do that here. The stiff controls just don't feel great, probably because what am I running away from? What am I afraid of? A bad shot? But I still think there's a lot to appreciate with this game. I think it looks and sounds good, and the core gameplay works just fine. It's definitely an acquired taste though, so releasing this game as a free download to try it out, I can see where they were coming from with that now. Appeal to people who will download anything because it's free. Your Honor, in my defense, it was free. The only other major release of Nintendo's this year on the Wii U eShop was the Splatoon Global Testfire, a free download to try out Splatoon during specific times and days before its release in May of 2015. Not much else to say here. It was just an app that let you play the online multiplayer for hour-long spurts through the day on May 9th, with another event happening on May 23rd. It was obviously successful as it showcased the value and fun of Splatoon, helping push it to become an incredibly popular franchise right out the gate, which is why Nintendo's done similar online test apps for Splatoon 2, ARMS, Mario Tennis Aces, Splatoon 3, Mario Strikers Battle League, etc. It makes it a fun event where everybody's trying to game out for the first time all together. If only they did that for Black. Indie releases really hit their peak this year on Wii U. We got so many amazing titles, and yeah, I'll say it, Black is one of them. Oh, thank God. This was originally a mobile game, but one of the classy ones. A game that genuinely needs a touchscreen, so obviously mobile made the most sense for it, though thankfully it got a Wii U release. It's all about drawing formations that repeat indefinitely so you can try to hit certain icons while avoiding others. It's just a really solid little puzzle game that gets pretty tricky pretty early on, though no stage ever feels unbeatable. Citizens of Earth was an Atlas-published RPG heavily inspired by Earthbound that also launched on 3DS that I always found pretty damn charming. Dot Arcade was an interesting Wii U exclusive, being based on the most primitive form of video game, Lights. This came out the same year PS4 got Rocket League. Come on guys, just buy the Wii U. Why? Now Freedom Planet, this was a great one. Originally created as a Sonic fan game, the developer ended up turning it into its own thing entirely, which was no doubt a good move. And while this released on PC before, for consoles, this was only on Wii U for a few years. See, that was a benefit of the Wii U having little to no AAA third-party support. It allowed for indies to shine, and I'm sure many put their games out as exclusives as they felt in debt to Nintendo for all they've done for gaming. Or they felt really bad for them. Rumbo was another exclusive for a while there, this one being a platformer where the color of the background changes constantly, and thus if certain platforms are that color, they disappear until the background changes again. It can be played as a standard platformer, racing game, party game, fighting game. This thing has it all, with a really great concept, style, and soundtrack to boot. Plus it features genuinely one of the largest cast of indie game characters ever. So many of them are playable here, specifically tons from Wii U and 3DS games. A lot of the indie games made for these systems during this time feel connected in some way, probably due to them being pushed alongside each other in Nintendo Directs. But this game really does highlight that sense of community. But where's Slender? Slender the Arrival, sequel to the viral game Slender from 2012. This was a big deal online. Everybody liked to record themselves playing, pissing themselves. Nostalgia, what I would give to piss myself again. That was a free game, so it was much more impressive. As a cheap little jump scare game, it worked well. Slender the Arrival is on a different level, considering you have to pay for it. And I just feel like less is more here. This game feels like they were under a lot of pressure after their free little game blew up online, so they had to follow it up with something bigger, more ambitious. But they just couldn't execute it well. Look at this. This is a choppy mess. Also, I will say, this might have been a problem with Fatal Frame. I think it's physically impossible to be scared with this in your hands.
Now to onlookers, yeah, this is terrifying.
Octodad, Dadly as Catch, the original Trine Enchanted Edition, Whoa Dave, Zeo Drifter, Don't Starve Giant Edition, the Gunman Clive HD Collection, which bundled Gunman Clive and Gunman Clive 2, which released earlier this year for 3DS, Ollie Ollie, Electronic Super Joy, all fantastic to see come to the console. But without a doubt, the biggest to see was the Binding of Isaac Rebirth on not only Wii U, but 3DS as well, specifically the new 3DS line of systems. It seems that Nintendo has finally loosened their stance on content coming to their platforms. Thank God. But we got a fair amount more games that were Wii U only, at least for the time being. Typoman was always a game that looked beyond intriguing. A platformer using words and letters to build the environment, creating this gloomy dystopian world where you have to solve puzzles with wordplay. This sounds amazing. In the end though, this is a pretty damn basic game. It doesn't go far enough with its concept. This concept has all the potential in the world to be one where every element of the game design just clicks into place. But in the end, it's a basic platformer where you have to solve puzzles by putting letters together. It's not bad at all. It just doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of its potential. Elliot Quest, Swords and Soldiers 2, Human Resource Machine by the World of Goo developers. This was a packed year for independent Wii U console exclusives, but 3 titles really stood out to me. First up, Affordable Space Adventures, a game that, by design, only works on Wii U. This was a Wii U exclusive. It will probably always be a Wii U exclusive, and that's because of how much it depends on the Wii U gamepad. As you move your ship around, you have to keep an eye on the controller to adjust any necessary options, with other players being able to assume different roles, which, while this is a fine single-player game, that makes it a great multiplayer one. Fast Racing Neo was a big deal, as this was being touted as this brand new not F-Zero game. See, if Nintendo fans want anything, it's games they don't buy. But Fast Neo was one everybody should have bought. This was one of the highest quality indie releases on Wii U. It is incredible what the developer Shinnen was able to do here. And they went all out. They even hired the announcer from F-Zero GX for this game. They wanted this to be a sort of magnum opus of futuristic racing titles. With that being said, I feel like this has more in common with the Wipeout games on PlayStation than F-Zero. You gotta swap the colors of your ship to match portions of the track or items to collect. It's a really good fast-paced racing game that, even if it's not exactly the same, does scratch a bit of the itch for a new F-Zero, and I should really stop scratching. Though I'd say the biggest Wii U eShop game of 2015 was, without a doubt, well, I already talked about Amiibo Tap. Minecraft Wii U Edition. Yeah, the fact it took this long for Minecraft to hit the Wii U shows that it didn't leave much of a lasting impression. If they put this out in 2013 and maybe put in some cool gamepad features, maybe you'd have something there. Nope, it's just a straight conversion of Minecraft. It works fine. But was this really gonna sell Wii U's? A way to play Minecraft a year before the system gets discontinued? Regardless, this was at least heartwarming to see at the time. Like, aw, they're taking the ugly kid to prom. On the 3DS side of things, man, it wasn't just pigs that were flying, these were full-blown hogs. So back on DSiWare, one of the most prolific titles was Flipnote Studio, a free app that gave you the ability to make simple animations and share them around the world. I absolutely love this thing to bits, how simple it was to quickly make something, regardless if you were a complete novice or animation veteran. Sadly though, this was one of the few DSiWare titles not available on the 3DS eShop. However, Nintendo announced plans for a successor made specifically for the platform, Flipnote Studio 3D. This was first mentioned around the time the 3DS originally launched and was later detailed via a Nintendo Direct in March of 2013, with it releasing in Japan a few months later, followed by a launch in Europe and North America scheduled for August 2013. Now, my science project in school that year was, what if it wasn't? I'm sorry. Yeah, this game just didn't release outside of Japan for the longest time. Nintendo said the initial delay was due to them wanting to better prepare the online service for the worldwide launch, and then Flipnote 3D's online sharing tool was roped in with Swapnote's big controversy. Jesus Christ, what were they sending on Flipnote? So, after all of this, Nintendo went silent on a release outside of Japan. That was until February of 2015, when Nintendo launched the game exclusively through their loyalty program, Club Nintendo, as they announced that program's discontinuation. So Flipnote 3D was sort of a parting gift. You just get a code to redeem the game on the eShop. It was completely free for all users, so why not just put it on the eShop? The same reason you don't put your diary on there. This is just embarrassing. It's such a gutted release with no online functionality whatsoever. One of the best aspects of the original Flipnote Studio was browsing what other users were creating, and stripping that out, I mean, it's still a damn good simplistic animation tool, and one that allows you to create animations in 3D now, which is awesome. But I just always felt so lonely using this. Flipnote Studio 3D is a robust and wonderfully designed little tool to make animation for fun, but lacks everything that made the original so beloved. Damn, I need a rebound after that. This is a D-bound! Pokemon Shuffle, releasing less than a year after Pokemon Battle Troze. I can see why they warranted this new title releasing. Keep in mind, I also just dropped my glasses. So these are pretty much the exact same goddamn game, though Shuffle does have a much better presentation overall, and the structure does lend things to stay far more fresh as time goes on. One problem, it's free. Like, that's gonna stop me. Another one of Nintendo's free-to-play experiments, though this one leans far more into the traditional mobile game method. You can only play so many stages before your hearts run out, after which you need to wait for them to replenish to play more of the game, or you could flat out buy more with your hard-earned cash. So that's sort of the issue here. Pokemon Shuffle has better gameplay, but a horrible pricing structure, while Pokemon Battle Troze is far more boring, but is thankfully just one flat fee. So, which one would I recommend? Not Pokemon Rumble World. Another free-to-play game, and it's Pokemon Rumble? It's like a serial killer that smells bad. But to be fair, this game is set up to be far less greedy than Pokemon Shuffle, where making in-game purchases is almost required to get anywhere. In Pokemon Rumble World, you can buy these diamonds that help you progress with actual money, or earn them by simply playing the game, and honestly, the simplicity of Pokemon Rumble works fairly well as a free-to-play title, especially one that's set up this way. This is an actual game, giving me actual levels to walk through, unlike Pokemon Rumble U, which is more concerned with giving me something foul. Plus, hey, if you're not into this, they released a physical version for one flat price later down the line. Damn, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Pokemon Rumble World? I mean, it's still Pokemon Rumble. It's not great, and for this series, saying that might as well be proposing to it. But that wasn't the last of the free-to-play Pokemon eShop releases this year. In December of 2015, we got a big f***ing problem. That's what we got. Pokemon Picross. I love Picross. Pokemon? Well, it starts with the same letter as Picross. It's my favorite and least favorite thing. It's a sexy serial killer. Yep, this is definitely Picross, but now with some light Pokemon elements thrown into the gameplay. Each puzzle is based on a specific Pokemon, and when you finish it, you can then use that Pokemon and their special abilities in future puzzles to help out. So yeah, it has a bit more personality than a typical Picross game, but when that personality is being communicated through pixel art that barely moves, it's not really a game changer. When it comes to the free-to-play aspect, the game thankfully caps you out after spending about 30 bones and proceeds to make all the in-game currency free following that. Without spending money, it takes far too long to unlock everything and progress through the title. Though with spending money, I mean, $30 for this? Come on, I could buy the Pokemon Rumble World for that. This one's alright, just feels a bit forced into the free-to-play model rather than being fully designed around it, much like Stretchmo. Another entry in the Mo series, this one being free to download. The idea here is that you can purchase certain batches of levels if you just want certain stages, or just a handful for cheap, or you can buy them all together for a discounted price of 10 bones, around the same price as the previous titles. The different level packs all have unique themes, such as NES games or having to avoid obstacles while solving the puzzle, but if you just buy the bundle with everything, it's just like any other Pushmo game after that. Just kind of makes the free-to-start model a bit worthless here. I mean, I get it. It makes it easier for newcomers to hop in and try out a few things for free, and maybe dabble in just a couple dozen stages for $3 instead of biting the bullet on a $10 game. But man, the main course of levels here is $5. And that's pretty damn close to the original Pushmo's price point. So it's like, if you want a good starting point for the series, you seriously can't do any better than the first. And I feel like this pricing structure, well, in theory could pull newcomers in, I feel that it can honestly deter them alongside longtime fans. Nobody wants to download a free game, then 10 minutes in get a tin can rattled in their face. The game itself, I mean, it's another Pushmo game, though this time you have the ability to expand and pull out blocks from the sides. Once again, it's fantastic, though strangely, things are starting to get real samey. Even with the incredible amount of gameplay differences between each of the games, I don't know, with so many games releasing so close to each other and all being eShop games where you're pulling blocks around in the grass, can you blame me for getting burnt out? I just wish Pushmo became bigger than it did. I would have loved to see a full retail release or a new entry evolving the series further, rather than just coming up with a new twist to the block puzzles and boom, there's a new game right there. And with Stretch Mode being the last of the series on the eShop here, 2015 felt like we were passing the torch from one eShop icon over to another. Introducing Boxboy, developed by HAL Laboratory, the people behind Kirby. Very simple platformer where you can push out blocks from your character here and form them in certain ways to solve puzzles, make a bridge, a step, shield yourself with them, etc. This has some really simple yet incredibly smart design to it all, though it was always hard for me to get fully invested in this series. I mean, its simplicity is beautiful, but also its biggest detractor in my opinion. While the design here is smart, I don't think it's as smart as other puzzle games with basic visuals for this to truly stand out to me. A good game with solid mechanics, just what I feel wouldn't be talked about nearly as much if it weren't made by the Kirby developers. If it were made by the Dr. Mario Miracle Cure developers, none of you would bat an eye. Yeah, also releasing this year was a new Dr. Mario game. For $9, you get Dr. Mario gameplay or Dr. Luigi gameplay like the L-shaped pills, plus online and local multiplayer, the Virus Buster mode, and a new mode entirely featuring power-ups. Why was this $6 cheaper than Dr. Luigi? Because Mario just rolled out of fucking bed for this one. What's up with his face? Seriously though, when this released, it was the definitive modern Dr. Mario experience. The Nintendo 64 game still had a unique single-player story mode and 4-player multiplayer, but this has everything else you could really ask for from Dr. Mario, and for $9, being cheaper than both Dr. Luigi and the original Dr. Mario Online RX on WiiWare, I don't really see how you could pass on this. I found my glasses. Well, Dr. Mario is always good, simple fun, but see, after like 17 entries, you need more than just, it's Dr. Mario on this platform to keep me interested. That's pretty much all Dr. Luigi was, and thankfully Miracle Cure has the power-ups plus everything else from the previous few games. But it's still really not enough for me to care tremendously. Visually, these are some of the most boring games out there. Like, my God, could you pick maybe a third background color? Solid little puzzle game, but is not something to write home about. But something that is, oh boy, the Nintendo Badge Arcade, a free application. Well, not anymore. See, back in 2014, Nintendo updated the 3DS to support custom themes. You could download a variety of themes from the theme shop and really express yourself through the 3DS menu system. It's a Legend of Dark Witch Blad kind of day. To go alongside these themes, you could further customize your system with badges to place around the user interface where the game icons would go. And the only way to get these badges is through the Badge Arcade, hosted by a rabbit. Say what you want, that's impressive. You have all these different claw machines you can play where you try to nab some badges based on all kinds of Nintendo or video game things. It's pretty simple, but oddly satisfying to try and get all the badges in a machine, even if I wouldn't be caught dead with them on my home screen. The app was consistently updated with new collections of badges to collect and new types of machines that offer a twist on the traditional claw machine. This is a supremely fun little app that ruined the lives of millions. $1 for 5 attempts to get some PNGs? That adds up. When you see a 3DS with the entire Pokemon lineup on its home screen, that indicates a ruined marriage. I think everything about this app was brilliant, though the pricing could have been a bit more generous, I think. This sort of app is designed to be as addictive as possible to keep feeding money into it. Sure, it's supposed to be just like normal Crane games, and it succeeds at feeling like that. But it's wild to me that with how much people despise microtransactions and loot boxes and all of that, this app didn't get much heat at all. Looking at the cons listed in these reviews, I can see why. Third party and indie wise, this was an incredibly light year. Attack on Titan Humanity in Chains was a retail game in Japan, localized in English, but released only via the Nintendo eShop by Atlas. Thank God. Ironfall Invasion was yet another free to start game, this time as a third person shooter with single and multiplayer. Thank God. This one is no doubt impressive, highlighted by Nintendo in their January 2015 Nintendo Direct, they stated this game was developed by 3 whole people. But man, this is just the type of game you play when you genuinely have no other console other than a 3DS. Dementium Remastered, a re-release of the Nintendo DS game by Renegade Kids, similar to their other remaster, Moo Chronicles. They have such range, don't they? Terraria received a 3DS port alongside probably the biggest indie game on 3DS this year, Steam World Heist. A new entry in the Steam World series, this one being a turn-based tactical game. Well, with so little occurring this year on the eShop, 2016 should have Mini Mario and Friends Amiibo Challenge. It's all been building up to this!